Hey folks, it's Maxwell here and welcome to the 9th episode of AEW Dynamite for the Sickos on TW9. I don't know if much happened between the last episode and this, I'm not going to lie. I booked this Dynamite, the go-home show for Full Gear during Bad Blood, and well, obviously anything before that was a very long time because this is the following day, so hopefully, but I've booked half asleep, makes sense, and properly propels us into Wrestle Dream. Wrestle Dream? I've written that down in my notes incorrectly. Full Gear. Ignore that. So the card that I've got written out, I think I have 11 matches. I've went full on Tony Khan. Let me just double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So 10 of them will be pretty much official by the end of the show. The 11th is pretty much going to be heavily hinted at as well. I have an idea where I want to go with a lot of things. There's a good few risks I'm going to be taking. There's a lot of change going to be happening. But I really feel it's necessary for us to get to where I want to be because, we can't keep relying on a couple of guys. We need to be relying on the whole roster. So, with that being said, we'll crack on. We'll explain everything during the angles. And yeah, enjoy this week's Dynamite, followed of course by Rampage and Collision. Let's do it. So I decided to start the show at the Walter Pyramid, straight in with a promo hyping up our main event for Full Gear. And that is going to be between Claudio Castagnoli, the challenger, who comes out, cuts a few words, just saying he's got his victory over Bryan Danielson. He's got the mental edge getting into this, but speaks for a few bit just about their history. As a result of this, Bryan comes out and then he says his verbals, so that gives us 10 minutes. You can see that we go for the average angle of the very good, so obviously Bryan better on promos than Claudio. And it's just saying, yeah, it was through, obviously, the situation, but Bryan knows what's on the line. He knows that next defeat, that loss of the championship, is going to be the end of his full-time career. So it's going to be up to him to make sure that it's not at the hands of people he previously called friends. So it was a 64, a very good promo with Bryan with a 75, Claudio only with a 52. So not great from Claudio, but as I say, he's always done his talking in the ring. 64 overall. First matchup of the night was about to have some good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. Ricochet defeats Mark Quinn in 11:23 with a 6:30 splash. As anticipated, these two meshed well, which gave us the segment of a 71, so pretty solid stuff there. But of course, it's just giving him positive momentum going into that big match at Full Gear. We hear from his opponent next. Well, we kind of hear from him. I suppose he's just there being intimidating. It's MVP that cuts the promo. And he just documents, how powerful Powerhouse Hobbs is, and they're basically just writing down what he's going to do to Ricochet. I probably should have used Ricochet off screen, but it was more so just him describing and hyping up Ricochet versus Powerhouse Hobbs at Full Gear 49. Next up, we had a decent matchup that saw Orange Cassidy defeat Preston Vance in 9:43 with an Orange Punch. 56, 41, 64, some very good in-ring work actually from Orange Cassidy to give the 71, but it's to give him some positive momentum because he is going to shoot his shot. So he basically says, you know what, I need a match for Full Gear. Okada, you know me, we have history, let's go. Okada doesn't say too much himself, he just says, you know what, I need competition. I need that victory before the Continental Classic starts. Basically next week, obviously, as we head into the C2 and then into World's End. So he says he accepts. Bitch. So 68 segment. I just really needed to give Okada some more time. Needed to give him a match on the event. So yeah, Okada Orange Cassidy for the for the Continental Championship. God, I'm getting this bad with Tony, because there's that many championships. Probably very Tony Khan-like booking, but sometimes you need to do that to fit something on the card last minute. Next up, we had a decent match here. Samoa Joe defeats the Beast Mortos in 11:20. I made this steal the show. It was okay as a 54. Joe with a 54 and off his game. Beast Mortos 47. Really just again giving Joe some positive momentum going into him against Mox. And we hear some words from John Moxley in a 63 rated promo. Basically just saying, we had a good victory there, good level of violence. He might be a beast, but I'm a whole different level of violence. One of us is going to definitely be shedding blood come Sunday. Obviously, I've made all pay-per-views in this on a Sunday, so we don't have any issues with Collision and letting it run on a Saturday. Moving swiftly on, we have a little segment here. It's Brody King, it's Buddy Matthews, it's Malachi Black. Just really an intimidating promo talking about what they're going to do to the Young Bucks this Sunday. 52. It's difficult because they're all heels, but I feel like we still need to keep the Bucks in the tag picture for a wee bit longer, the title picture. Next up, we had the two #1 contenders for the Women's Championship teaming together. Can they coexist? That big question, as they took on the Outcasts here in Harley Cameron and Saraya. It was about they had some decent reaction from the crowd, but subpar wrestling as Mina Shirakawa and Toni Storm defeat the Outcasts in 7:16 when Toni pinned Harley with a strong 0. I felt like Harley wouldn't have a great in-ring performance. Saraya's obviously a bit sketchy with the extremely poor form. Whether we get her out of that slump remains to be seen. So I made it storytelling. Obviously, you tell the story, can they coexist? But 57 for Toni, 45 for Mina, 50 overall. And it leads to a segment where, Mariah May is conflicted. She's like, yep, they have come into this match with a bit of momentum. And she's kind of freaking out a bit, we'll just say at the commentary desk. So a 64 there. As a triple threat match for the Women's Championship this Sunday. Moving along, I had a decent matchup that saw Nigel McGuinness in action, and he defeated Kyle O'Reilly in 9:04 with the Tower of London. This seems very random, but we'll get to that. 60 for the wrestling, 44 for crowd, 65 for segment. I just feel like every so often giving Nigel a match, giving him an opportunity to see if he can still hang. And as it proved there, he certainly can. Because he's obviously going to retire again at one point, so use him while you've still got him. And he decides, since this is a night of shooting your shot, open challenges, talking to someone that's been doing an open challenge for the TNT Championship's been Daniel Garcia. Nigel McGuinness wants to challenge Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship at Full Gear. So the ball is in Daniel Garcia's court. 51 for Nigel's promo. Next up, we had a decent matchup here. It was a wild brawl as Hangman defeats Christopher Daniels in 8:21 with a buckshot lariat. You can definitely tell here this style suited Hangman. It didn't really suit Daniels, only with a 36 performance. But again, we're just making Hangman look completely deranged. And a 67 for the segment here. We then see, after the matchup, Darby Allin get a wee one-up on Hangman. And he just completely destroys him. So Hangman obviously, after that, starts to get these senses, a wee bit groggy, a bit raging, but that sets us up nicely for their match at Full Gear. Hangman versus Darby Allin, 57. And then our main event for the AEW Trios Championships. There's a lot to take in there, there's a lot of text. So let's see how we can do. And about that was the good wrestling and a decent reaction from the crowd. El Hijo del Vikingo and the Lucha Brothers defeated Wheeler Yuta and the Blackpool Combat Club, and the Undisputed Kingdom in 13:39. The order of elimination was the Undisputed Kingdom were eliminated first, then Yuta and the Blackpool Combat Club. The match was designed for a Steal the Show type match, and during the matchup, Yuta basically distracts PAC, which leads to the finish and means that El Hijo del Vikingo, and the Lucha Bros are your new AEW World Trios Champions. So I had to get the belts off of PAC, Claudio and Yuta. For where I want to go with this story, the title belts had to be off them. I like the Undisputed Kingdom, I'm not going to lie, but I feel like with Vikingo and the Lucha Bros, I just keep having just bangers constantly and really elevate just a lot of talents. You can get a lot more lesser talents in there with them and have good matches. I can see there 57 for Yuta. He was off his game. Claudio was 66 off his game. Great performances, I'd say, by PAC and the Lucha Bros. They obviously, and Vikingo as well, they obviously suit the style that we perform at, which is obviously more towards performance, but it depends what's higher, but obviously as we're still trying to build people's overness, it's going to be more on performance than popularity. The storyline obviously gained some heat, and Claudio, Yuta and Taven were off their game. Yuta was really off his game. So overall, a 68 there. I'm assuming we should still be high with some good promos in there. 67, so we're that was kind of on the threshold when we needed a stronger main event. probably even some stronger promos. But that's fine. We're not going to strike gold with every single one that we do, and it still increased their popularity in free regions. This one was obviously more so for telling stories of putting everything together for the pay-per-view. So I'm just going to run through the card quickly. Hangman versus Darby Allin. Samoa Joe versus Jon Moxley. World Heavyweight Championship, Bryan Danielson versus Claudio Castagnoli. Mina Shirakawa, Toni Storm, Mariah May for the Women's Championship. Ricochet versus Hobbs. Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita for the International Championship. The Young Bucks versus the Kings of the Black Throne for the Tag Team Championship. Okada versus Orange Cassidy for the Continental Championship. And pretty much going to happen, we'll obviously finish off to make them happen, will be Nigel McGuinness versus Daniel Garcia for the TNT Championship. And Wheeler Yuta versus PAC. Pretty solid, eh? So we'll finish the show there, and we'll see if there was any locker room incidents between that and the Rampage taping. Nothing. Perfect. I'll go about Rampage, and I'll see yous in a bit. Hello Colliders, it's time for Collision after a quick wee look at Rampage. So we just have a look at that. We had the Acclaim defeat the Dark Order's Alex Reynolds and John Silver. We had a little angle with Rush Dralistico and Mortos, easy for me to say. Kip Sabian defeated Ariya Daivari in a 38. We had some more words from Megan Bain, Deonna Purrazzo and Taya Valkyrie in a 37 rated match. I ran again with Britt Baker versus Emi Sakura, just really to try and get Britt out of her rut. She then cut a promo just saying she's hoping to get back to her best ways. And we had Buddy Matthews defeating Commander in a Steal the Show match, which gave us a very good rating of 68. So good stuff there. Not too much happened between shows, which is good. It's a pay-per-view week, so it's a weird episode of Collision, just purely in the fact we don't really have many people that are performing on the pay-per-view actually wrestling. I think it's Darby, and I think that might be it. So, but we do cover a few stories to try and get them over, but most matches were really just to get good matches on the show. So, like most Collisions, Tony. But anyway, sit back, relax. Time for Collision. So we've got 2,803 fans in the Cyber Hall, we'll go with. And I started the show with PAC basically mentioning what happened at our main event on Dynamite, how Wheeler Yuta cost him the Trios Championship. And he says, well, Yuta, you've finally stood up to the BCC. If you think you're a man, then I'll meet you at Full Gear. So basically that was how we were setting up PAC versus Wheeler Yuta. The challenge has been laid out, 53 rated segment, which continues Brian's final run storyline. And because there's about that many people interlinked in it. But yeah, it just gives us that 11th match. Looking forward to it. We then moved on to some action in the women's division, and it was a decent match that saw Chris Statlander defeat Hikaru Shida in 9:43 with the Big Bang Theory. I don't feel like I've fully utilised Chris so far on the save, but it's just kind of wondering where you put her, because she's obviously class, and in this save, Mercedes and Mariah, the champions, are both heels, so is Stat, so I didn't want to really turn her so quickly. Unlike real life, it seems like she has at the time of recording. And yeah, a 63 for the segment. Moving along, we then had a 4-minute interview with Mercedes Moné and Camille in the background. Again, just running down Athena. I didn't want to take her away from Ring of Honor. I've said to them I'm going to recall her, bring her to the main roster. But they still haven't took the ROH World title, and I don't want them to vacate it, although it's going to look highly likely that that title will end up vacated when Athena is on the main roster. Next up, Dustin Rhodes defeats Preston Vance in 9:45 while lifting reverse DDT. 45. I felt it was maybe someone that could maybe help Preston in terms of just developing some of his technical attributes. Or in-ring attributes, I should say. I suppose technical would actually go towards the technical attribute. But 42, pretty level in terms of performance with Dustin off his game. Then had a win for Top Flight against the Righteous. Decent wrestling, not a lot of heat. And Dante pins Dutch with a red eye in 9:32. Again, we'll just try to get Dante over. As I say, you can see the big difference between Dante and Darius in terms of in-ring performance. Maybe the injuries took a few points off Dante's performances, but hopefully we can build him up to a similar level of Darius. Sadly though, Everyone deemed that these two teams were all pre-show workers. Come on, not that bad. Both of them are, but I actually enjoy pretty good. I enjoy both teams for different reasons. I love how mental they are. I love Dutch's Big Boss Man Slam. And Top Flight, you're going to be entertained with some really good flippy stuff. Then had Daniel Garcia come out and cut a promo. Nigel McGuinness, of course, is on commentary, I believe, for this. Yep. So he's at the desk, and Daniel Garcia basically says to him, yeah, I'll accept your challenge. I'll show that, the future is certainly in good hands, and I don't think, Nigel, you can rise to this level anymore. And that's 44, so that's booked in as well. Decent matchup here, decent reaction from the crowd. Jamie Hayter defeats Anna Jay in 10:33 with a Falcon Arrow. Overall, it was a 53. Jamie brings a 59, although she was off her game a little bit. Anna Jay only by a 35. But the good thing is, she does the training constantly with QT Marshall before every show, so I'm hoping she can be a very good long-term prospect. But at the same time, see if you keep giving her matches, she's going to get better. And especially in the ring with someone like Jamie. Then I had Hook look to benefit from being in the ring with Johnny TV, and he wins in 9:51 with the Red Rum. The match was designed to tell a specific story. It's basically our storytelling match of the day. You can clearly see, though, with some of the younger talents that I do want to push in the future, we're getting them in the ring with veterans. Veterans are putting them over, but you're hoping that they can gain a little bit in the ring skill set, and of course mentally as well, like psychology, etc. But this really feels like a tape collision, just purely on the basis to protect the main roster talents. Although, to be fair, when you think about it, for the pay-per-view talents, in reality, this would be a collision that wouldn't happen, because the pay-per-view would be on the Saturday. Next up, we had a double promo, because this storyline needed some heat. So we basically had a couple of words from Toni Storm, talking about the World Championship match, how she says this is her first chance to get back at Mariah May for that championship. She's been all around the world, and even met Mina Shirakawa. Mina says, it was good to see her friend win the title, but she feels like she really is in the middle of this. But at the same time, she has to look after herself and try and become the women's champion. And that was a 56. Toni benefiting from a hot catchphrase. The storyline gets some well-needed heat. Then had Darby Allin defeat Lance Archer in 9:49 with a coffin drop in a wild brawl. He's over his injury now. A 59 for the segment rating. It's the most Darby thing possible. Let's just take on the nastiest, most brutal man right before a big brutal matchup against Hangman. So Darby picks up the win to gain some momentum. We then hear from Will Ospreay as he talks to Renee Paquette, and he just says he's wondering what the situation is with Don Callis. Like him, Takeshita, they obviously are gunning for his international championship, but he wants to know what Callis has done with Fletcher. And why he's decided to come after Ospreay. But as I say, main thing is I want these two to have a spectacular matchup, because we'll find out the situation with Fletcher going into December. This helps the Ricochet still get the Spark storyline. I really needed that to be the case. It was a 55, so that's good to see, because it was struggling with heat, and Renee was the star of the segment. That's why we put her in there. But only a 55. Main event time on Collision. Trios Championships will be defended. Vikingo and the Lucha Brothers taking on the Bang Bang Gang. This is why I put the titles on them. Decent matchup. Vikingo and the Lucha Bros defeat the Bang Bang Gang in 12:37 when Rey Fenix pinned Austin Gunn with a Meteora. The match was designed so the wrestlers could go out and steal the show, and it makes their first defence of the Trios titles. 63 for the wrestling, 44 for the crowd, but a 69 overall. Weak links there. Juice was really off his game, only a 46. Not too bad from the Guns. Rey Fenix and Vikingo 88 and 77 respectively. But yeah, it does a job. None of them are going to win the pay-per-view because I've already got 11 matches. But that's what I'm looking from the three luchadors, to just basically have bangers. And to try and hope that we get a good segment rating so we can make sure we gain pop. And only get a 58, so it's not really helped us, but it was basically just a video package documenting the feud, history, and then the feud between Bryan Danielson and Claudio Castagnoli. How, he brought him in when Bryan was injured to face Zack Sabre Jr., and now it could be the man that ends his career, or his full-time career. So a segment rating of 58, storyline advances, loses heat, Brian benefits from a groundswell of public support. Overall, 64, so we lose pop in 9 regions, not a strong show at all, and increase our pop in 3, so I'm assuming we lose it in the States, but we gain it in Oceania. The fans were disappointed, the storylines furthered the show, none had really dramatic stakes. That's fair enough, I accept that. I was just making sure we had everyone fit for the pay-per-view. Gain a bit of profit, that's good to see. Popularity, so we lose one in the Northwest, we gain in New South Wales and Oceania. And yeah, we'll jump into the main screen and we'll have a full, probably for the second time on the video tonight, the full rundown of the card, because I am going to be swiftly moving on to go and book this, because a lot of stuff is going to change going forward. And I need to try and figure out my brackets, my 2 brackets of 6 for the Continental Classic, and then obviously we'll change it to the Final 4. First place in one will play second place in the other, blah blah blah, and then we'll have a grand final, because it's in the tournaments. I'll just do like 2 brackets and then we'll have it that way. Hopefully that works. So now we're looking to get Takashi Sugiura, a new contract. Collision, underwhelming, that's fair enough. Evil is out for a few weeks. Anything else that directly affects us here? Oops, a new different stable there. Not overly. Wardlow's career. Well, at this rate, it probably would be his career, but we'll give him a new contract, and then he's back for injury. We'll try and utilise him. Collision got just under 1 million viewers overall, obviously telling us about Evil. So, new ligament damage. Stats aren't particularly great. 36 though, is a wee bit. They actually could let him go and probably wouldn't miss him. But we don't do written exclusive deals here, just written deals, and it'll be a 1-year deal. In fact, actually, I'm going to do it per show. So, written deal, 800 per show, 1-year deal, and I'll geek her 15% of merchandise. Nope, 20. There we go. Only can try to save some money. But that's it for this episode. Thanks very much for watching. As I say, we are now on the road to Full Gear, and hopefully you'll join us for that video. So just to remind you, that is Yuta versus PAC. It is the TNT Championship. Daniel Garcia defends against Nigel McGuinness. Continental Championship on the line as Okada defends against Orange Cassidy. Tag Team titles on the line as the Young Bucks challenge the Kings of the Black Throne. International Championship on the line as Will Ospreay defends against Takeshita. Ricochet takes on Will Hobbs, or Powerhouse Hobbs. Triple threat match in the women's title is, of course, Mariah May defending against Timeless Toni Storm and Mina Shirakawa. The TBS Championship will be on the line as Mercedes Moné defends against Athena. We have Samoa Joe taking on Jon Moxley. We have Hangman Adam Page taking on Darby Allin. And then, could it be the final countdown? It is going to be the American Dragon Bryan Danielson defending the World Championship against Claudio Castagnoli from the BCC. Excalibur can do it. I can do it too. Cheers for watching. Mind check out the Grey Dog Software Forums, Fantasy Bookers subreddit, twdb.com and bethebooker.net, and I shall see you next time for Full Gear. Bye bye.